So I just saw this video from a woman who asked her soon-to-be ex-husband, how exactly did you reconnect with the woman that you had an affair with? And he says it was her birthday, so I texted her and wished her happy birthday. And she was like, how did you remember her birthday from like almost 8 years ago? Like, you don't even remember your own son's birthday. And he was like, I don't know. I just remembered it. And it reminded me of the video that I did maybe a year and a half ago where this man was being interviewed man on the street style. And the interviewer asked him, was he with the love of his life? And he said,
I have a lover and then I have love interests. The one that I want is not available, so I have to occupy my time dealing with women that I'm not interested in that much.
and the interviewer said, do these women know that you're just dating them in the meantime? And he was like, no. Men will absolutely marry you, have kids with you, spend years with you, all while they're waiting on the woman that they actually want to become available. That woman was special to him, and he knew that. He knew that when he had that kid with you. He knew that when he married you. And the only reason why he's with you is because she probably wouldn't take him, or the timing wasn't right for them back then. But he always knew that he was going to spin the block. I don't think it's crazy if you're dating these men to ask them, is there any woman on this planet that if she ever gave you another chance, you would take it? Now, he may or may not tell you the truth, but I would much rather say he lied to me than to say I never asked.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know about marriage. Let's get into this. So she talks about this being a placeholder position. I don't know if I would quite say a placeholder, because in this particular scenario, the man was actually in love with a woman that he had already found. All right. So there was a woman that this particular guy knew. He liked her. He wanted her. Okay. But he couldn't get at her. But then he found another woman. Okay. And then he was into her or whatever. And, might have got with her, married her, had kids with her. But then he still wanted, woman A. Right. And that can sort of be a placeholder, but I see that as slightly different. Now, when I use the term placeholder, what I'm basically saying is a man is out there, he's in a relationship with a woman. So the woman is the placeholder in this particular scenario, but he's waiting out for a woman, not necessarily a woman that he's already found. He's just waiting for some woman that he feel like is better than the one that he has. Okay. And the difference is a slight difference, because in one scenario, the man has already located the woman. He knows her. He knows her name. He knows everything about her. He's probably in love with her. But then in the other scenario, okay, the man doesn't even know the woman yet. He's basically saying that there's just certain things that I'm looking for in a woman that I feel like the current woman that I'm dating doesn't have. All right. So I did want to make sure that I use that term, but I think we can learn a lot from this video, because what you're dealing with the placeholder position. Now, a lot of times on these channels, we talk about Pookie and Raymond. All right. And if you're brand new to my channel, Raymond is basically the high value version of Pookie. Okay. Pookie ain't got no money. Raymond got a lot of money. All right. But the attitude is exactly the same. These men are really going out here. They're just trying to have sex with you, trying to have fun with you. And every woman that ends up with a Pookie or a Raymond, you are automatically a placeholder, because these people will never marry you. All right. So if you're dealing with Pookie and Raymond, okay, a lot of y'all got babies by them, just being real. Okay. Then, that was just, hey, that's life. It moves on. But Pookie and Raymond generally are very smooth. Okay. They speak well. They flirt well. They know how to get women's attention. And that's the difference between them and a lot of the other men, about 80% of men that are the rest of men. Okay. Now, once we get that, we have another subset of men that are right underneath the Pookies and the Raymonds. All right. And what these men are doing is, these men generally, like I said, they're looking for a wife. They're looking for the woman that they will spend the rest of their life with. Either they know that woman already, like in this particular video, or they don't know her yet. And so it can be confusing for women if they're caught in this place. Okay, especially when the man doesn't know the woman yet. Because that to me is more dangerous than if he does know the woman. Because if he does know the woman and the woman gets married or she, goes, decides to move to Belize, there's nothing he can do about that. She's gone. But when you're dealing with a man that he doesn't know yet, then his fantasy of what he believes that the woman can be, okay, can now be very strong. Okay. And in those particular scenarios, it actually can hurt you in a lot of ways because, again, you don't know what he's looking for fully. And then he could be telling you little things, and then now you're trying to figure out how can you be that. And for some women, they found themselves caught in this where they're trying to be this superwoman. What it really boils down to is that he's looking for somebody that's not you. And you could be spending all your time trying to become this woman for him, but you just aren't. Now, I want to do a quick aside and say that yes, everybody does do a little bit of changing to be in a relationship. And I've usually talked about that could be anywhere between 15 to 25%, depending upon the situation. But you are going to do some changing, but you should still be you at the end of the day. Okay. And just to give you a quick example of that, if I was to marry somebody of another culture, okay, I would have to pick up some of her culture. And you've seen like black men, like if they marry an African woman and at the wedding, because the woman is generally the person that pushes the wedding, the man is sitting there in the African attire. He's not in a tux. He's in African attire. Why? Because he's marrying an African woman. So he gets given up part of himself to be with her. Okay, makes sense. Now let's move over to being a placeholder. Every woman should ask questions. I think questions are really important to do. I think that's so important for women. But one of the things that you need to do is you need to figure out what he's willing to do that he does not want to do. That is one of the main ways that you know that, okay, you're not in a placeholder position, because if you're constantly able to get things out of him that he doesn't want to do, a lot of times that's letting you know that he likes you a little bit more than just being a placeholder. Also, when he starts to speak about the future and you're a part of that conversation and it's effortless, it doesn't seem like he has to think about, oh, well, when I take a vacation next year, oh yeah, when we take a see, you see the difference. It's like every time he's thinking about the future, you're in it. At that point, again, you're probably in a good place. Another thing is, it doesn't seem as though he's holding back anything that he truly wants to give away. Like, for instance, he might say certain things, maybe not necessarily about you all's future, but that he likes to do for women, or that he wants to do for a woman one day, or he wants to do for his wife one day. And what you feel like is, oh, I'm getting those things, right? It's starting to make sense. Like, I'll even say that there was a time about 2 years ago, I was dating a woman, and I probably knew about 6 weeks in that this was not going to work. And, she was talking about, me and some of the stuff that I did, because I would tell her, for women, I do this, for women, I do that. And so she really honed in on this one thing. And she kind of, brought it up one time, and she was just kind of like, you've never done XYZ for me. And at that point, I kind of got myself caught up, because I was like, yeah. And I was thinking about it like that. And I was like, oh. But the point I'm trying to make here was my brain at that point, six weeks in, hadn't locked onto her and a future for us together. It just hadn't locked in. And so at that point, that thing that I normally do for women, or that thing that I wanted to do for a woman, she didn't see evidence of it. The evidence of that wasn't there. And so right there, she kind of knew, okay, she's in a placeholder position. Now she might move up to wifey position, but at that point, she was in a placeholder position. Because my brain, my energy, my heart wasn't locking in. And see, some men are, they don't necessarily mean bad when they put a woman in a placeholder position. They just don't know. They don't know the woman well enough. But at the same time, because remember, men don't fall in love quick. They fall in love slow. So that's why one of the main reasons why I'm always telling women, slow your roll. I know many of you want to fall in love fast, but I'm like trying to tell you, take notes on the man, do this, do that, to try to slow down that process of you falling in love, especially if you find a really great gem of a man out here in all of these, in these streets, so to speak. So basically, I don't want women to be afraid of men. I don't want women to be afraid of dating men and talking to men. But what I want women to do is to recognize, okay, that you do not have to, like I say, be in these placeholder positions. But what you have to do is you have to play a little bit of the game. And this is why I always tell women, and I know it's a Christian channel, and I know, like I said, this is, where people can get frustrated with me, is that I'm always going to encourage you to be abstinent, straight up, abstinent until you're married. However, if you just feel like you just can't control yourself, try to wait 90 days. Do your best to try to wait 90 days. Because a lot of times within that 90-day period to even 120-day period, a lot of who he is and how he feels about you is going to start to come out. And most men, even the hardcore men, will start to fall in love as they start to get closer and closer to 6 months. But if you put yourself out there to the point where you're falling in love on week 3, okay, and then he don't fall in love till later, but you want to do all these adult things, and every time you do these adult things, you're getting closer to him, because that's really what sex does. It actually gets us closer to our partner. That's how God created it. So now you're getting closer and closer and closer, and he's not getting closer. So now, again, you put yourself in a place where your heart can be broken, where if you just waited, saw yourself as a little bit more of a friend to him in the first, like I say, 90 days or so, now you've put yourself in a better strategy on, okay, am I a placeholder? Does he really feel like this? And you start to learn him more. Because even as you start to learn a man, you can start to figure out whether or not you are good for a person. Okay, and I don't think we talk about that enough. So I'm gonna take 5 minutes to talk about it. As a woman, you're out here and you're trying to figure out, okay, a man's dreams, his hopes, his desires, all these other types of things. And while I do think men should help their wives achieve, some of their wives' goals in their life, I truly do believe that. Okay, we always use in the Christian community, we use and say that a woman is a man's helpmeet. So you need to figure out, can you help him? And when I say this, I say it in all sincerity. Can you help him? I use myself as an example every once in a while, and I'll use myself as an example now. People ask me all the time, they say, Jay, when you get married again, are you going to continue to help the singles? And my answer to them is, it depends on what God says. If God says, once I get married and I hear 100% from the Holy Spirit, and I've learned to hear the Holy Spirit, and I feel him saying, stop. Jay, you've done the piece I wanted you to do. I want you to now focus on your family. I don't want you to worry about the singles anymore. I'll raise up somebody to take your place. And we will pass the baton, from them to you. From you to them, right? So if I feel like God is saying that, then yes, I will give up, okay, Christian Singles Connect, Christian Young Adult Singles, and even, the podcast, if that's what, God wants me to do. However, if God says nothing, or if he says continue, then that basically means I will continue. So at that point, a woman has to ask herself, can I support this man who is going to be around literally dozens, if not hundreds, of singles and single women for an extended period of time? Can I support him? Can I be there for him? Can I trust him? Will I be okay? So for instance, a woman that's been cheated on multiple times by, different men, it'll be very difficult for her to support me. I might not necessarily be her man. She might say, well, I think he's attractive. He talks a lot the way that I like a man to talk, and he moves in a lot of ways that I like a man to move. But then you have to understand what my purpose is. And this train that's going down these train tracks, where it's going. And if you as a woman, you can't handle that, then you can't be with me. It really is that simple. And so when you as a woman are dating men, you should be thinking about, okay, can I even handle this man? See, a lot of women want to marry millionaires, but I'm not a millionaire. I'm not saying I'm a millionaire, but I use that as an example because I'm like, can you handle being a millionaire? A lot of women can't handle it. All right. Then you have other women, I'm just being real, that they can't even handle 100,000 there. One of the people that came out to Christian Singles Connect a while back, me and her had a really great conversation. We got on the phone. We had a real good conversation. And I was telling her, I was like, you're the type of woman that should be married in the suburbs, different things like that. But I was like, I'm just letting you know, you have a lot of habits, and there's just a few of them that's stopping you from getting into that environment. And I was like, you need to get rid of them 100%. You need to never touch them again. And I was like, if you can do that, I truly believe you'll probably find, and get into the spaces where these men, these suburban type of men are. I was like, that's your future. I was like, I see you over there because you are that woman. But over time, okay, society and the world you live in has given you a 2 or 3 toxic habits. These aren't traits. These are just toxic habits. And you've got to get out of those toxic habits, because when men, okay, in certain environments are trying to raise up their children, okay, they want to raise them up a certain way. And you have to be the woman that lines up with how they're going to be raised. So you can't be a woman saying, oh, I don't believe in college. And then this guy, he's gone and he's had his master's degree and he's like the 3rd generation that has gone to college. You cannot say, okay, well, I don't want college and I don't believe in college and this, that, and the third. No, if you want that guy, you might even need to go back and finish your own degree. And see, that's kind of what I'm talking about. There's a lot of things that sometimes, women are doing that puts them in the placeholder position where they really could come out of it, because they might have some toxicity, or maybe they have some other things that they're holding on to that is just hurting them. So I have to talk about placeholders, but like for me, y'all know I talk about solutions. And I do find that most people online, again, and no disrespect for a 1-minute video that these people have put together, but it's like, we've got to understand and identify the problem, but then we also have to find ways to fix it, get out of it, understand it, and then go to the next level. Because like I said, I don't think every man is being toxic by saying, okay, I put these women in these placeholder positions. But at the same time, women should know. And like women, we always tell women straight up, like, if you don't see your man on the weekend, then more than likely you are a placeholder. I'm just being real. And when I say weekend, I'm talking about the whole weekend, Friday through Sunday. Now, like I said, if a woman was hanging out with me and we have been, dating for 6 months, and I had an event, for Christian Singles Connect, then she just rolled with me. Now, I wouldn't want her rolling with me on, week 3, because you don't know me like that. Okay. And I don't know you like that. But there should be some, transparency as to where I am, where I'm going, and what I'm doing. And again, I think we have this environment where everybody's saying, okay, I'm a woman, I'm hanging with my girls. You're a guy, you're hanging with your guys. And it don't work that way. Even, like I say, I try to watch these shows every once in a while to get an understanding of what's going on out here. And there was another one, Married at First Sight. And it was so funny because the counselor was telling this woman, because she was trying to hang with her girls every weekend, like go to brunch every weekend, hanging out with her girls. And even the counselor was like, what are you doing? And she was like, what are you talking about? I'm going to hang out with my girls. She was like, you're married now. And then one was like, what are you talking about? She was like, you're married now. Why don't you want to hang out with your husband? Well, I hang out with him all week. And see that, and that's the issue. See, those are people that don't understand marriage. Marriage is for people that want to hang out with their person most of the time. Most of my friends, if I want to see them on the weekend, I have to schedule time, generally 2 and 3 weeks in advance. And then they're trying to figure out when they can spend time with me because they've already had plans with their wife or wife and children. And I even told you all about a lady that I dated that was kind of like that because she even talked about how she wanted to hang out with her friends doing brunch like 2 and 3 times a month. And I was like, no, I could see you guys maybe once a month. But I was like, if I'm with a woman, I want to be with her a lot. I don't want to be with her a little. And when I was married, really Friday at lunch, from Friday at lunchtime all the way through the end of the day on Sunday, me and my wife were together. We were together that whole time. You know, we would go to the movies, we would go out to eat, we would take walks. I mean, we would do, all different types of stuff. And that's what we did. Okay, you should want to spend time with your person. Your person is not just there for you to say, oh, I got a cute person, I'm having sex with them, okay, we're going to have a family, but you don't really spend time with them. Because connection takes time. And if you're not willing to connect with another human being, then you don't need to get married. You need to find another channel to watch, and this is not your channel. All right, and I do think a lot of people really don't want to be married. They just really want to be in a relationship. And I've told people straight up, if marriage is not really your goal, you don't really need to hang out on my channel. I don't understand really why you're here. I'm okay with the low numbers because I'd rather make an impact on the people that do hang out on this channel than to try to make this worldly, impact on all these other people and not really help them. Okay, because my thing is really to help people. Anyway, remember every other Thursday we do Thursday Talk, so come out to that. And until then, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you all in the very next video.